Well, welcome back for video 5 of our series. As I explained, we have adjusted things around, so there are now 6 videos in this challenge. And so today's video is how to use exercises as diagnostics and how to start to analyze what's going on in the ride. And so we used some video footage, some more video footage for you so you can look at riders riding the exercise, and we're going to talk you through how to use the exercises as diagnostics. And then tomorrow's video is on how to use the feedback from the horse using the what, why, how method. And so it brings it all together, how to take what you perceive from your horse, how the horse responds to the exercises, taking the information you get from using the exercises as diagnostics and using that to train your horse and to assess what's going on. And then if you have missed any of the days, I highly recommend you go back and watch those before we get to the end of this challenge. So anything else you want to say?
That's it.
Okay, good. Yeah. So let's get started.
Yeah. So in this video, I want to show you how you can use things you see and feel to diagnose problems maybe, or to take it as inspiration for further inquiry. Right? You can always look at how the different body parts of the horse work together when you're teaching or when you're watching somebody. When you're riding, you have to try and feel how they work together, and you have to look at little in anomalies in the movement of the horse. Here you see there's a slight irregularity of the hind legs. It looks like one hind leg pushes a little more than the other. And then here, look at the half pass. It looks like that outside hind leg has a hard time supporting the weight and pushing. And Dawn here is sitting pretty firmly there on the outside hind leg, right? And maybe she does that because she wants the inside hind to take bigger steps. So in theory, that can work if you sit on the outside hind leg, that the inside can take bigger steps and step more under the body. But here in this case, it seems like this is already more than that outside hind leg can handle. So it touches down. It's not especially flexing under the body, right? And the outside hind is the one that pushes more in the half pass. The inside one is the hind leg that supports and flexes more. Now it could be that it's a weakness or stiffness of the left hind leg, and this horse historically has always had a very tricky left hind leg, but it could also be that it's always the outside hind. So it's interesting to look at the horse in both directions, and it does look like here the right hind leg also finds it very difficult in the half pass when the rider sits on it. So then the next thing I would do is to investigate it by riding a half pass with more weight on the inside seat bone, like kneeling a little more with my inside knee, taking a little weight off of the outside hind leg. And see if the movement becomes smoother as a result. And then I might investigate this more by riding transitions into the outside hind, like on a circle or whole school, just halt into the outside hind leg from the trot and see if that half halt goes through well, if the horse does the transition well, or if he responds by dropping the back, bracing the hind leg, inverting, and so on, which could be. And if that's the case, so here you see it again a little bit. If that's the case, then you could supple the hindquarters by moving the hips left and right a little bit with a variety of exercises. So you could ride turns on the forehand in motion, back and forth to move the hip, or you could go in any gait. You could go whole school, move the croup in for 3-4 strides and move it back out, and you can do it with the bend to the inside, or you can counter bend a little bit. That loosens up the hind legs. And Yeah, so you can investigate that when you feel something like that, that there is a little bit a stiffness, tightness anomaly in the movement, then you can research that a little further. So then here we'll look at another interesting little moment that will happen after the volte in the transition to the half pass. So first the volte here, and there you see how the left hind leg also responds. Like, looks slightly tight in that left hind leg, but I think he was muscle sore from something from the day before. And here you see how there is a little wobble, there's a loss of balance, loss of rhythm. So Dawn immediately abandons the half pass, goes back to another volte, which is smart. That's what I would do too. Just abandon the half pass there. I'd have to go back a little farther and see what happens. So there's a loss of balance that happens as the weight shifts here as the half pass begins. So here it's still there. Oops. See, I was backed up a little too far. I think here we are. So it's right at the moment where the weight has to shift into the inside hind leg for the half pass, and the horse loses balance right there and buckles a little bit in front. So that is something that could be worth investigating. I mean, if it just happens once, it's fine. It could be that the weight shift was too sudden, that he needs more preparation. So in that case, it's good to ride that transition again, and there. So it's the inside hind is on the ground and the outside front, right? And then the outside front leg buckles a little bit, and it could be that or most likely the inside hind leg is not flexing enough at that moment, which throws the weight a little onto the outside front leg, which buckles, and then the horse trips a little bit, and the inside front has to touch down sooner and catch the body weight so the horse doesn't fall down. And say there, and then I would do the same thing, get out of the half pass, use the volte to bring that inside hind leg underneath me, and then I would do the transition into the half pass, maybe with giving the horse a little bit more time to shift the weight. So do it more gradually, space it out more, maybe step into the inside stirrup first and then shift my weight and then move into the half pass. It could be that it's a sign that the horse wasn't able to take on the weight as quickly as the rider was aiding there at that moment. That can happen. And you saw the second time around it was better already. But yeah, this is something to investigate, and then when you find that is difficult for the horse to shift the weight, then you can help him by doing down transitions into the inside hind leg at the end of the volte. And you could begin the half pass at the walk too. You could go trot to walk, transition into the inside hind, and then in the walk begin your half pass, and maybe once you're in the half pass, trot on again, do a transition from walk to trot. Or you could stop the horse into the inside hind at the end of the volte, and then prepare the horse for the half pass at the halt, begin the half pass, and then when you're in the half pass, trot on again. So here we'll look at another rider. There it starts in the middle of the volte, and there's a half pass following the volte. So it looks like Natalie's actually riding a little shoulder in after the volte before the half pass, which you can do if you feel like you need a little extra time. If volte to half pass is too difficult, then you can add shoulder in. But what I wanted to show you is this transition at the end here. You can see how in the last few strides of that half pass, the left hind leg is starting to brace more against the body weight of the rider and the horse and against the ground. And Natalie is sitting a little to the outside, and it could be that that's her. It could be that the horse is pushing the left hip up against her, because the left hind leg, see here, is not flexing that well. It doesn't really like that, right? And then you see as it's not stepping under far enough right here, and then the joints can't flex, the back drops, the head goes up, and yeah, and then you see how the horse starts to twist the poll a little bit, open the mouth a little bit, and it really comes from that left hind leg. It's not connecting well to the ground and to the weight, so it can't flex. The weight aids can't flow through that left hind leg into the ground, and so you get resistance, and then you don't get a smooth transition from the half pass left to the half volte right. So the new outside hind leg is extremely important in every change of direction, regardless of whether it's a difficult one or if it's a simple one. A lot of horses have trouble with that, and if that old inside hind, the new outside hind leg, doesn't connect well enough to the ground, then you have trouble with a change of bend and with a change of direction. What I would probably do in that case is stop the horse at the end of the half pass into that left hind leg, the old inside one, and maybe depending on how it feels, because there might be resistance against that halt transition, I might move the horse a little around, like a step to the right, a step to the left, a step of rein back, to rearrange the legs under the body and rearrange the body mass again. Oliveira, for example, used to do half pass, halt, rein back forward, or rein back forward, rein back piaffe, those sort of things. So it's generally a good idea to halt into the old inside hind at the end of the half pass to make sure that inside hind leg is connected and allows the weight to go through, allows the half halts to go through, because this will become your anchor for the next turn, right? And if a horse has trouble with these transitions and changes of direction and so on, then it makes sense to practice the halt transition into the old inside hind leg frequently in a variety of changes of direction, so that the horse understands the mechanics of that change of direction, and that he becomes more supple in the hind legs. This is a vertical suppleness issue, the flexion of the hind legs issue, and you won't be able to get a good transition into the new line, and you won't be able to get a good bend and good half volte in this case if that new outside hind leg isn't well connected to the ground and the weight. And you see how the croup swings a little bit to the outside here, and that's something that happens easily with these horses that have a very round rib cage and short back. They don't bend so easily in the middle. That's why they will always tend to drift a little bit with a croup in or out, so that the middle can stay stuck and inflexible, right? Whereas if you keep front legs and hind legs on the correct tracks, then the middle of the horse has to bend, the rib cage has to move. So then we'll look at another instance where the horse loses balance a little bit. It's a transition here from the volte to the from the shoulder into the volte. You see how the horse's head comes up a little bit, and one thing I always do is I look at which hind leg is on the ground and what is it doing when stuff like that happens, especially when there's something in the rein contact going on in the rein contact, like there. You see it the outside hind is on the ground, and that's the left hind leg. So that's the one that we already noticed at the end of that left half pass, that the left hind leg wasn't flexing enough there, and consequently the horse twisted the pole and came above the bit a little bit. And here you see it too, the outside hind leg is behind the vertical, which means it's not really able to flex, but it already has to push again. And when it's too far behind and already pushing again, it can't support the back, it can't protect the back of the horse, so the back drops, and then the horse goes above the bit. And sometimes it's just for a stride or two. And they're beginning the first quarter of the volte, there are several strides where that happens, and then the horse catches herself again, right? And then Natalie's rides a canter depart. But so that's an interesting thing to observe. So which really means in this case, like if you notice that left hind leg does this sort of thing in several places, then I would investigate that. Then I would do half holds into the left hind leg, down transitions into the left hind leg, stirrup stepping into the left hind leg, to investigate this further, to see, is it just a stiffness? Do I need to work on this? Or maybe is it a case for the vet? In some cases they react like that because it hurts when they have to support the weight. In that case, you can call the vet or the chiropractor or somebody to check on that and make sure everything is okay. But sometimes it's just lack of body awareness of the horse, lack of coordination. Sometimes it's a muscle tightness, and if that's all it is, then you can get rid of that by training with exercises and bringing the hind leg underneath and flexing it through a variety of exercises, and then it should get better. If there is a pain issue, a legitimate pain issue, then it will get more pronounced. It'll get worse as you try to get the hind leg under the body and flex it. If it's just lack of coordination, lack of body awareness, or certain stiffness in the muscles in that hind leg, then it will get better. It will go away as you work on it, as you practice it. So here we have another horse and rider. So he also does something interesting that you see fairly commonly. You see how looks like he's trying to get his head down a little bit, and that's something horses do when they want to take the weight off of the hind legs, right? When they want to relieve the hind legs. That can be a sign that they're getting tired. I don't know how long she was riding there when it was filmed. Could be that the hind legs were starting to fatigue a little bit. Could also be that the horse just finds it uncomfortable to have to go in a more uphill balance in general, right? Because when you shorten the distance between the hind legs and the front legs, and the head and neck come up a little bit more, then that puts more weight onto the hind legs, and then often horses try to compensate for that by lowering the head and neck. So, and he's clearly searching and trying to negotiate with the rider for a lower head carriage, right? And they can see is there a correlation between that lowering of the head and a certain hind leg that's on the ground. Very often it's a certain hind leg that's on the ground, but here it seems just more of a generalized, there you go, and then she lets him stretch, right? And look at it again. So when that happens, then I would start to think, how long have I been riding? How long have I been at the trot? How long have I had him, put together on the bit and so on? Is it reasonable for him to want to stretch now, or is this still early in the ride and we haven't done that much yet? So maybe there's no legitimate reason, but maybe if I've already been riding for half an hour and I've been doing a lot of trot work and doing stuff that's fairly tiring for the horse, then it's probably time to take a break or to finish pretty soon. So and here you go. And so then as a rider, you feel the horse kind of tugging on the reins and putting the head down, and maybe he pushes the croup up a little bit and tries to get you to tip forward a little bit. That often goes hand in hand, and then that's usually a sign that the horse needs a little break. So he seems sweet and friendly and seems cooperative. Doesn't have a lot of muscling, so it makes sense that this would be challenging, and that he would get a little fatigued after a while, right? And it looks like it's when the inside hind leg is on the ground maybe more often than when it's the outside hind. And then because he was busy lowering the neck, then he lost his balance a little at the end of the volte into that half pass or leg yield. There you go. Yeah, so when your horse does something like that, then think about whether he might be tired, needing a break. That's very, very common thing you see a lot. So here we'll look at another horse and rider, and here you can see too how the horse somehow elevates her head and neck more and more, and it comes a little bit above the bit here, and it seems like it's the outside hind leg in the shoulder in. So always look at which hind leg is on the ground, and looks like the outside hind leg doesn't have a good enough, solid enough connection to the ground and the weight at that moment. So in other words, the hind leg touches down and braces or pushes rather right away, rather instead of touching down and flexing first before pushing. And interesting, the canter part is nice here. So that loss of balance apparently was overcome. So here it looks better a little bit still. See a little bit this tendency for the horse to tighten the back and lift up, inverted slightly when the outside hind leg is on the ground. So there you may have to help the horse with, stirrup stepping on the outside, half halting. You could also drive with your outside leg to get that outside hind more under the body. And so here the weight is more on the right hind leg in that leg yield and in the canter part. And it could well be that the horse finds this more comfortable when the weight is on the right hind leg, and maybe not so comfortable when the weight is on the left hind leg. There are differences in most horses. Most horses have one hind leg that allows the half holds to go through better, and that is better able to support and support the weight, flex under the weight, and the other hind leg tends to have more trouble and tries to extend and push more and tries to not have much to do with the weight, right? And in that case, you have to work on that vertical suppleness of that particular hind leg, for example, by doing lots of transitions or bringing that hind leg under the body and then sitting on it, flexing it through half holds and stirrup stepping and so on. And then the more that outside hind leg yields and connects to the weight and the ground, the rounder and softer the horse becomes. And you can see that the second time she rides the exercise, it's already better than the first time, which is pretty normal too. So, and here you see a little bit of that too, but not as much as in the other direction. So the right hind leg overall seems a little bit more comfortable with the weight, or seems better connected to the weight. There the horse bulges, the mare, she bulges over the outside shoulder a little at the end of the volte, and that is probably related, if she's hollow left and stiff right at the moment, then the left hind leg doesn't, support the weight as well. It's not as strong. And here in a volte, it can happen that the inside hind leg unloads itself by pushing the shoulder out, or letting the weight roll off onto the outside shoulder. Although the leg yield actually looks better towards the left. So there the left hind leg seemed to be able to do a better job with the weight.
So there we go. I think that was really interesting. And if you have missed any of the previous days, before we get to tomorrow, I recommend that you go and watch those videos now, because you're going to want all of that information for tomorrow's video. Tomorrow, we talk about how to use the feedback from the horse using the what, why, how method. This is how to analyze what the horse is doing, why is this happening, and then how to modify what you're doing for the horse. So specifically how to break it down, how to substitute elements, how to make it easier, and how to create the building blocks you need to train your horse. So that's tomorrow. In the meantime, go to the Facebook group and tell us what you think. Yeah. So see you then.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.